Hello and welcome to a national live stream to raise funds for the national tour to get organized for Revolution. My name is Annie Day.
I'm Noche Diaz.
We are very, very excited to be here in the midst of a major upsurge all across this country, concentrated at college campuses, of students rising up and putting themselves on the line to say, stop the U.S.-backed Israeli genocidal slaughter of the Palestinian people. And we're also very excited to come to you just days away from Revolutionary Internationalist May Day, where the RevCom Corps for the Emancipation of Humanity is going to bring the message that now is the time for revolution for real. So that's what we're doing here today.
Right. And today, we're very excited to involve you in raising big money to make all of this happen. And to start us off, we're going to share with you a matching donation that was made.
Oh, you're jumping ahead. Yes. No. Okay. We'll do that 1 second.
We're going to share it. Stay tuned.
What we're raising funds for is so national movement to make a revolution, and we're here today raising funds for a force that's concentrated, anchored in Los Angeles, that's leading this national movement for an actual revolution. We are raising funds for the RNL, the Revolution Nothing Less show, which is a weekly YouTube show that's bringing people the understanding of why we need a revolution, what's happening in the world, how to get organized for that revolution, and bringing you the revolutionary leadership in Bob Avakian, the leader that the RevComs look to and follow, that we promote, because he's brought forward a framework for actual real emancipation, the new communism, and a strategy to make a real revolution. And we're raising funds for RevCom.us, and we'll talk to you more about all that today. This is not going to be a super long live stream, y'all. We have people all across this country. Many of you tuned in. If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. If you are a regular supporter of this revolutionary movement, welcome. We've got a lot of people I know who generally tune into these kinds of things who are rightfully hitting the streets today. So we are going to bring you a couple tight segments. One on how we're understanding intervening in this upsurge around Gaza. And two, we're going to talk with you more about Revolutionary May Day. You will hear from each other in statements, and you will hear directly from the revolutionary leader, Bob Avakian. So that's the plan for today. We're going to go about 90 minutes-ish, and Noche is going to kick us off.
And as you're listening and watching, send your donations in, send in your statements. If they can't make it onto the live stream today, they can be found at revcom.us, and they can be part of building this movement and this fundraising effort going forward. We're out to raise, again, $15,000 by May 5th. And to start us off today, we're starting with this matching donation, which we're going to share with you from comrades in Hawaii, supporters who have sent in a statement challenging you, wherever you are, whichever camera you're in, challenging you to be part of donating. And this is the words they send along. And everything you give now will count twice because of this matching donation. So this is a statement from people in Hawaii. They say, "We are a group of longtime supporters of RevCom.us and BA who have been celebrating Revolutionary Internationalist May 1st for decades. Now, as we see conditions for revolution ripening, we recognize that while the system is crumbling and people can no longer live the way they always have, what's seriously missing is a movement of revolutionary people in their millions, capable and prepared to take advantage of a revolutionary situation should that develop. This is why this year we're celebrating May 1st by putting up this $1,500 matching donation toward bringing forward a revolutionary people. Even while continuing to struggle over whether making a revolution capable of overthrowing the system of capitalism, imperialism, could become possible within this relatively near future. We challenge you to join us." So with that, do you want to update us real quick? Please.
It's on the screen. Okay, so we're getting our tech stuff going as we start. So we've raised $1,357 toward the $15,000 goal, and if we make that match, then we'll add $3,000 to that. So So yes, give now. I think, I don't remember if you said this, but while we're tuned in, while you have me and Noche here making the argument, while we're going to bring voices from across the country in this national movement for revolution, this is a chance for you to get people you know who've checked out this revolution, who you've just met, and talk to them about it. This is a chance for them to tune in and hear about what we're doing, why, how we see revolution is actually possible in this rare time, and how they can be part of coming together with others in this national movement. So text everyone you know, DM your friends, call people up and say, yo, tune in now. For the next hour and a half, you're going to hear an argument about why you need to contribute and what difference it'll make.
That's right. And speaking of which, now is a perfect time to get everyone you know tuning in. As we kick this off, we want to start us with a excerpt from a dispatch of, from the interviews that were done with Bob Avakian for the Revolution Nothing Less show, which you can find on this YouTube channel. If you go into the video playlist, you'll see a selection of the 3-part interviews that were conducted by Andy Z and Sansara Taylor, the co-hosts of the Revolution Nothing Less show. But to start us off, again, as you tune in, listen to Bob Avakian getting into what an actual revolution really is.
So you've dedicated your whole life, over decades, to making revolution and emancipating humanity. And I want to talk about revolution. It's a word that people throw around all the time. And people mean radically, very wildly different things when they use it. What is a real revolution, and why is that necessary?
Well, it's not a new variation of Charmin toilet paper. Okay, that's the first thing we can say. You know, it's not a change just in the culture, to be more serious. It means that you actually overthrow the existing system and replace it with a different system. That's what an actual revolution is. And yes, you know, there's a lot of confusion, a lot of people. I remember, you know, after I think it was Parkland shooting, you know, there was big rallies that were held, and one of the students from there, you know, got up to speak one of these big rallies, and the first thing he said was, "Welcome to the revolution," because there were, you know, large numbers, masses of people there. Well, masses of people are one important ingredient of a revolution. You don't make a revolution with a handful of people. You need, you know, millions of people ultimately to make a revolution. But the question is, what are those people fighting for? What are they aiming for? Are they aiming just to make changes within the existing system, or are they actually recognizing that you cannot bring about the positive resolution of all these different horrors that exist in this country, and we could go through them, but in the world as a whole? You know, you cannot bring about a positive resolution to that, an elimination of all that, within the confines of this system. That is another scientifically determined, evidence-based truth. And so therefore, a revolution means that you overthrow the system in order to, you know, bring into being a completely different foundation in how the economy functions, different relations among people that are not oppressive, a different culture that, instead of reinforcing all this garbage and oppression, actually reinforces emancipating relations among people and emancipating ideas among people, you know, and all the political structures also are transformed in order to serve the further transformation of society, to uproot all the underlying basis for all this exploitation and oppression. That's a revolution. Nothing short of that is an actual revolution.
So that's the perfect place to start. That shows you how Bob Avakian, how the RevComs are fundamentally different from all the leaders that are put out that people are told to look to and follow, that do not see beyond the confines of this system. Bob Avakian is about an actual overthrow of this system, and you know, one of the things we're going to get into today, and all the more reason why people should tune in and contribute to building up the forces for revolution now, is the revolution that we're talking about, that we understand is absolutely necessary, is more possible in this time as things come to a head, as the whole future could come up for grabs. And the question to us, to all of us, is whether there's going to be a force for that revolution to actually be able to seize on that. And that's what we're straining the limits to work to build. And that's what your funds can go to. And it can make all the difference at a time when the future really does hang in the balance.
That's right. So we've got a few donations coming in, but we want to see them get bigger, and we're going to share some more statements with you. But I do want to say, you listen to that, and no other leader in the world today, and certainly not in this country, is talking about a real revolution the way Bob Avakian is. Really listen to again and again what he's talking about. Compare it to everything else that's put out there about what's needed, what people should be doing with their lives, and measure that up against what's necessary and what Bob Avakian is talking about. And think about that as you're listening to these words from a retired railroad worker on why he's giving, or they are giving, $50. They say, as one gets older and one has experienced things, sometimes not knowing which way to go, as grown-ups, we need to pay more attention to the things that are put in front of us. After critical examination, given the times we are in, then maybe the future won't look the way it is currently headed, and maybe, just maybe, a better light can shine for the future.
So thank you to the retired railroad worker for that generous contribution and that, I think, moving statement. And so we're going to go into our first segment here. We've raised $1,652. I think that's a little over $200 toward the matching $1,500, our first match. So let's see if we can make this $1,500 match in this next 25 minutes of this or 30 minutes of this first segment. So as I said when we opened, we're in the middle of a major upsurge. For over 6 months, we've been witnessing this horrific genocide in Gaza, fully backed, fully funded by this government. And the horrors pile up every single day. Horrors that RevCom.us has been deeply reporting on. Tune into the issue tomorrow, and you're going to see an article about the mass graves that have been discovered in Nasser Hospital and Al Shifa Hospital of medical workers still in their scrubs, buried, of people still with IVs in their arms, buried, with medical wristbands, buried, after being slaughtered, with U.S. backing and funding. And we've been watching this go on and on and on, of a genocide of the Palestinian people. And on RevCom.us, you get real analysis about what's happening and why. But what we're seeing now is in the streets, students have risen up, changed the entire political terrain, locking down their, having encampments on their campuses, putting their bodies on the line, mass shutdowns at dozens of campuses across this country, of students saying no, demanding that their campus divest from, Israel, funds that go into Israel and that companies that do business in Israel. And demanding an end to the genocide. And they faced vicious police brutality, they faced mass arrests, and they faced really ugly slander. And they're not backing down. Just today at UCLA, there was, hundreds of Zionists that came to counter-protest the encampment. The RevComs were in the streets, or I should say on the campus, uniting with the protests. So we want to show a couple videos, one that help us understand what's happening, and two that show how the RevComs are acting in relationship to all this, uniting with the beautiful upsurge and also struggling for this to go deeper, for the resistance to get stronger, and for it to get linked up, for people to understand in this what's the actual way out, what's the source of the problem they're up against and the solution. So first we want to play a very short audio excerpt from Bob Avakian. And I'll say for myself, one of the questions I've been out on the campuses, and people are really, like I said, they're righteous, they're heroic, they're courageous. But it's really heavy when you ask people, well, why do you think that the campus administration, why do you think that the police are coming down so hard on what is very righteous, peaceful protest demanding an end to the genocide? And people really don't know. They're really up against the fact that, I don't know why. It's the school's afraid of losing money. It's corrupt school administrators. They're afraid of losing their jobs. Real things, but really surface things. And so we're going to play a very short excerpt from Bob Avakian's social media where he answers in brief why all this repression is happening. So let's listen, and then we'll get into it more.
This gets to the real reason why this speech and protest is being viciously repressed, overall and particularly on college campuses. As I've said previously in message number 17, this repression is happening now because fundamental interests of U.S. capitalism, imperialism are at stake. Because Israel plays a special role as a heavily armed bastion of support for U.S. imperialism in a strategically important part of the world, the Middle East. And Israel has been a key force in the commission of atrocities which have helped to maintain the oppressive rule of U.S. imperialism in many other parts of the world. And this repression is happening because representatives of the ruling class in this country have a definite sense that if youth, especially at elite universities, begin to seriously question and act against what this system is doing, if the system loses the allegiance of large numbers of those students, that can be a big factor in creating a real crisis for the system as a whole, as happened in the 1960s. A crisis that now more than ever, this system really cannot afford when the whole country is already being torn apart by deep divisions with bitter clashes right among the ruling powers. So, at the same time as they are bitterly divided, the ruling powers of this country are firmly united in their determination to punish and intimidate, especially students at elite universities who have stepped forward to protest the genocidal slaughter of Palestinians. The ruling class is desperate to prevent opposition to its fundamental interests from spreading and involving masses of people from all parts of society. And all this reveals more nakedly than in normal situations the actual dictatorship behind the outer shell of democracy of this country. And it shines a light on the strategic weakness of this system when it does lose the allegiance of major sections of the people. And this has the potential to spread to all parts of society, including among the dominant institutions of this system.
So that brings a tremendous amount of clarity to what is happening, what people are running up against with the mass arrest, the fact that this is a dictatorship. And one of the, look, the RevComs are acting in relationship to this, like I said, uniting with these protests and also struggling for this to go deeper and to bring in the understanding of the need and the basis for an actual overthrow of this system. And that's what we're raising funds for us to be able to be on the ground, to be producing RevCom.us, to be producing the RNL, Revolution Nothing Less show, the lights, the cameras that we're talking to you through right now, but also to send revolutionaries across the country. And we're going to play a video now from Rafael Cadares, who when Colombia went up, when this broke open across the country, Raf raced over to New York City, the epicenter of this mass student protest. And let's play the video. He talks for a bit about what he's doing on the ground. We have just raised $300 toward that $1,500 matching challenge. So while you're watching this, think about what difference it makes to have a voice like Rafael on the ground in New York City, and think about what difference it makes and the importance of funding that. So give this a listen and give while you do.
Hey, what's up everyone? This is Rafael. I'm on the ground here in New York City. I just got on a plane a few days ago, came out from Los Angeles to New York because I wanted to be at the epicenter. I wanted to be at ground zero of where this student uprising against this genocidal war against the Palestinian people is happening. Columbia University really kicked it off by, setting up the tent encampment right when, the president of Colombia, Manouche Shafik, was, going before Congress, groveling at their feet, and then came back to Colombia and, sent the NYPD in to raid that camp, arrested over 100 100 students. They came back even stronger with even more resistance, set up another camp. This sparked off a nationwide uprising of students all across the country, from UCLA to USC. Right here in New York, students have taken over NYU, even the Fashion Institute of Technology, Parsons, and here I am at City College of New York, CCNY. Uptown in Manhattan, people are, have taken over the whole center of campus here. Right now they're doing a speak out, and there's been chanting, there's been discussions, we've been getting into the big questions with people. So I came out here to be part of, both standing with these students, supporting this uprising, calling on people to escalate the protests against this genocidal slaughter that's happening in Gaza, especially right now as we're on the precipice of Israel fully backed by the United States, getting ready to invade Rafah, and calling on people to come out and defend these camps, defend these university students who are, bravely putting it all on the line to stand with the Palestinian people to stop this genocide. But, also to go in and struggle with these students about what's really at the root of this. What's the real solution, This isn't just about some university presidents who are afraid to lose their endowments, afraid to lose some big donors. This is, a real fear that the whole capitalist, imperialist U.S. empire has right now about students rising up against something that's so essential to the interests of U.S. imperialism, which is the State of Israel as a military outpost serving U.S. interests in the Middle East. And the even greater fear that they have that a whole generation of college students might lose their allegiance to the whole damn system, and that's exactly what needs to happen right now. So we're out here at these camps at Columbia today. Some of our people are down at NYU, some are at Columbia. We've had a Revolution Books pop-up tent. Everywhere we go, we're encountering people who are, really shocked by the repression that's happening. They just can't believe that they're sending in police to dismantle these camps. We're running into people who are very inspired by what these students are doing. But we're also calling them to ask the deeper questions. Why? Why is this happening? Why is the U.S. backing this genocide, under Republicans and Democrats? Why have they backed all of Israel's crimes for decades? It's deeper than just the, Zionist lobby. It's deeper than just a few weapons manufacturers. It has to do with the nature of this system of capitalism, imperialism, as I've been saying. And we're challenging students to get into the work of the revolutionary leader Bob Avakian. We've been getting the compendium of his writings, his excerpts on Palestine, Israel, the Middle East, U.S. imperialism and the revolution humanity needs. This has been controversial. Some people have tried to say, we don't want that stuff around here. It's an outside agenda. And look, the fact is, I got involved in this revolution around 2005 when the U.S. was killing, mass murdering almost 1 million Iraqis, drove 5 million people from their homes, killed hundreds of thousands in Afghanistan, torture in Bagram prison, secret CIA black sites, Abu Ghraib, photos of that went around the world. Everyone saw it. No one's been held accountable. People are still being tortured in Guantanamo Bay to this day. Then Obama went and drone bombed 7 countries, took out Gaddafi, turned Libya into a fucking disaster, so how many more times is this going to happen? How many more genocides is the U.S. going to perpetrate? How many more war crimes is the U.S. and Israel going to perpetrate? It's going to keep going on until we overthrow this fucking system. So no, this is not an outside agenda. And yes, if you are serious about revolution, if you are serious about putting a stop to this once and for all, you need revolutionary theory and you need revolutionary leadership. And that is what Bob Avakian's providing. Revolution is not easy, especially in the most powerful empire the world has ever seen. How are you going to defeat their armed forces of violent suppression? How are you going to wake people up from the fucking brainwash that they're caught up in? This is the work that Bob Avakian's been doing. Look into it for yourself. Don't give me this cult bullshit. We've been running into some of that here. There's a lot of curiosity, but there's also a lot of turning off your brain and not wanting to think about the big questions and dismissing it, as some sort of a messiah. What someone just said, oh, I don't want to follow one leader. But look, it just so happens that this one leader has actually developed answers for how the fuck we're going to make a revolution, has actually developed a new communism, a whole new framework for human emancipation. So if that's something that you want, you got to look into it, decide for yourself. And no, ultimately it's not just about one leader, it's about the emancipation of humanity. It's about bringing forward lots and lots of leaders who can lead an actual revolution in this country. But the way you do that is by getting them into the most advanced scientific revolutionary theory and leadership, which is the work of Bob Avakian. Look into it for yourself. Support me, support the other RevComs that are out on the ground bringing this message to people. Enable us to be able to fly, across the country, to go to the hot spots, to go to ground zero where, the eyes of the world are on this. I've been able to do, several media interviews because people are looking at what's happening at New York City, at Columbia University in particular. Enable us to print these materials, to get them out to these students. Donate as much as you can. There's nothing more important than you could be putting your money to than a way out for humanity, a revolution to put an end to this truly monstrous system that right before our eyes right now is perpetrating a genocide, is pushing the climate over our cliff, is giving rise to fascism here and all over the world, and pushing the world closer to world war. It's either their future or a much better future for humanity, but it's on us to bring that to people.
That was exciting.
Yeah, it was. And we want to come back to some of the content of what was in that video and what we've been getting into in this segment, but we wanted to take a pause to announce a very exciting update on where we're at in raising the funds to meet that $1,500 matching donation. I think you have the numbers laid out for us.
I have the numbers.
Annie.
We have raised $890 toward the matching goal, and we need to raise $610 more. And then we will be at almost a third of our full goal that we're aiming to meet, $15,000 by May 5th. Or much sooner, and then we can go to work to set our new goal. And this is to fund a whole national movement for an actual revolution, to do the kind of things that Raphael is able to do, to hit the ground running, get his voice out in the epicenter, what he's fighting for with such clarity and a real sharp understanding of what it is we're up against and what we need to do right now, while students are lifting their sights and raising raising big questions, but also still a lot of bullshit ways that this system has people thinking, which we really got to go contend with about frankly, people really not able to consider the actual possibility of overthrowing this system, and certainly not on thinking that that's something that's imminent, which Raphael is clearly going to fight for very sharply by really wielding what Avakian has brought forward and is analyzing about the moment we're in and the potential.
That's right, and it highlights even more what we're doing here with this fundraising live stream here today and what you're part of doing by raising these funds, because the world is roiling, folks. This is our time, and we want to talk a little bit more about that, but this is our time. And what Rafa is there doing and what we're fighting for, really, this is like once in a lifetime opportunity to make big advances to the point where we can lead millions for revolution. So before we move on, we did want to circle back, and we've been talking a little bit about the upsurge of the students over the last week or so. Maybe a little
time got compressed.
The really existential nature of this most recent campaign of annihilation that Israel has been waging in Gaza, and which could spill over to the West Bank, and which is imminent, on the imminent verge of invasion of Rafah, which would escalate this. And more of this is covered on the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show every week, and on RevCom.us, and the pamphlet that Rafa mentioned that is very, very, very timely, very, very cool, and which is part of what the funds being raised is going towards. But when we were talking, you wanted to
I want to interject. The funds that you're raising here today are not going for this. This was a compilation from the Bob Avakian Institute I'm here today as the part of the RevCom Corps for the Emancipation of Humanity and working to build this national movement. I'm also the director of the Bob Avakian Institute. That's separate.
Okay.
But go to our website, and if you want to talk about the Bob Avakian Institute anytime, our contact info is on our website. But
very important
we're raising funds
clarification.
for the forces that are spreading
yes,
this.
exactly. The funds that we're raising here is to get this out there.
Yes.
So not directly printing it, but in terms of the people who are fighting for it and spreading
Yes.
this everywhere. But you did want to pause and circle back around to talk about not just about what we're doing, sort of in the midst of all this upsurge, but to really appreciate what the fuck is happening here, with all of this. And so why don't you maybe help people get their heads around a little bit more.
Well, I think that's a good way to ask the question, actually. I appreciate that. And I think, look, you're in a situation, and we're not going to back into all of this, but I do. You're in a situation where this whole system is in crisis. You're talking about the danger of nuclear war on different fronts. The U.S. proxy war with Russia and Ukraine, now facing off with China, now a potential conflagration that may spill out from what's happening regionally with the U.S.-backed Israeli genocide of Palestinian people, facing off with Iran. All this kind of on the one hand, and then here you have a situation where thousands and thousands of students and then society writ large are watching their country, the supposed land of freedom and democracy, wage a genocide, and they're watching it on their phones, and they're tuning in every single day to people being bombed by American bought bombs and ammunition and funding and political support. And this has ripped a veil. At a very time where this system needs to shore up their legitimacy, this has ripped the veil off what the nature of this system actually is. And you're seeing the thousands and thousands of students potentially lose allegiance to this system. BA said it well, but I just don't think, we can underestimate the strategic nature of what is happening before our eyes, where I saw a video of a guy who's an active National Guards person saying, look, I can't comment on anything in particular, but I'll tell you. And then he read what the rules of the National Guard are about how basically saying, no, I won't be deployed and I'll refuse orders. He didn't so much say that, but he basically said that. And you have a situation where people can read on, actually it'll be on revcom.us tomorrow, but in D.C., when the George Washington University tried to call out the local D.C. police to take down the student encampment, the police forces said no. And the quoted people saying, well, look, we remembered what happened in Lafayette Square and how delegitimized we are. You see, or then the Arabic spokesperson for the State Department resigns. You see the potential for their institutions to split apart, and everything then that the mainstream imperialist genocidal Democrats are doing is not enough for the fascists. And the Democrats are saying, yeah, genocide, we're backing this genocide, no daylight between us and Israel, and the fascists are saying, no, that's not enough. Send in the National Guard to shut down these protests. So this is a situation, I don't mean to go on and on about it, but this is a situation that's tremendously strategic for the revolution that the RevComs are urgently working to get in position for, are urgently working to build up the forces for. And there's just, in terms of whether there's going to be a way out, it has everything to do with whether this force is built up, with whether this force is projected, and yes, whether this force contends. And there are forces, Raphael referenced it, there are forces even inside of these otherwise very heroic movements that want to shut down debate about real revolution, that think revolution is an outside agenda. No, it's a larger agenda. And if we don't work to make this revolution, then people are going to be fighting another genocidal war in days, years, whatever. And then the other side of it is really understanding what's our greatest responsibility to the Palestinian people and to the people of the world is to rid the world of this beast of U.S. imperialism. So I just, for all of people who are watching and listening, again, new people that are checking this out and longtime supporters of the RevComs and the Forces for Revolution, this is you said it, this is our time. And there's a lot to learn from what's in the streets, and there's a lot to struggle with.
And, just before moving on to a letter of that's sort of helping us appreciate a little more, too, what it means for students to be going through this at this time, I did want to pause to announce
yes,
very exciting update. We're very close, folks.
We just got a $400 donation, again, toward that $1,500 match. So that is now $800, basically.
Plus 400, no?
Well, no, we get so 400 and 400. Anyways, it got matched. That's the point. So we're very close to meeting that $1,500 match, and when we meet that, we'll be close to $5,000, which is a third of our goal. So keep it coming, people.
Okay, so
do you want me to read this letter?
It's up to you. Do you want to read it?
We only need $135 to meet the match. So if you're tuning in, listen to this statement and think about what difference it makes to get this understanding in the mix. This is a statement for people who donated $535, and they're from Boston, and they said, Bob Avakian official, the social media post, which we'll come back to Bob Avakian on social media and the importance of that. But what you just heard was dispatch number 27. So they said he hits at the crucial point about the strategic weakness of this system, and that needs to be taken to heart and shared broadly. The elite universities play an especially specific and critical role in training the future leaders of the capitalist imperialist system, both in the U.S. and around the globe. Students are constantly indoctrinated with the message that the best way, in fact the only way, that they can make a difference in the world is through the pathways provided by this system and at elite campuses, and that they have the access to the perks and promises that come with attending one of these elite universities. But when we start seeing the sustained opposition to the genocide being carried out against the Palestinian people on these campuses in the face of mass arrests, police brutality, and more, it's very important to grasp that the indoctrination that the students are breaking out of and the potential this reveals. And this can play an important role in contributing to bringing forward a revolutionary people and the fierce struggle that will be required ahead. So we hope this contribution will help towards achieving that goal. So thank you to the donors from Boston. It will help toward achieving that goal. Yes. Oh, well, okay, so we are at $2,722, and we still need $135 more to meet our matching goal. Before we move off of this question, I guess in particular on talking about the change situation with these student protests and the overall situation with in Gaza, and you talked about the looming invasion of Rafah, and if you are listening to this, those of you watching, don't underestimate the change situation. You guys should be grappling with each other about this, how we're going to impact, how to raise the funds necessary, how to build the revolutionary forces necessary to have this go into Revolutionary Internationalist May Day, and how this message of revolution is going to go into these student encampments and beyond, and to everyone who's being moved and impacted by what's happening. Before we move off this, I did want to say, people, again, tune into RevCom.us tomorrow. There's a Iranian rapper, Tumaj Salehi, who's called the Tupac of Iran, and the Islamic Republic of Iran just a few days ago issued basically a death sentence for his execution within probably now about 2 weeks from now. And this cannot go down. This has got to be stopped. There's got to be a major international outcry to say no to the execution, free Tumaj. And that this is a concentration, I just have to say, of what we're seeing here and the stakes of preventing him from being executed. All the more brings to life that the world cannot be left with the choices of high-tech imperialist slaughter versus dark ages Islamic fundamentalist nightmare. So this is all the more reason, one, that we have to unite and to prevent this complete outrage, to free Tumaj and stop this execution. We have to unite with the people in the streets, raising the righteous demand to free Palestine and to stop this genocidal slaughter. And we have to bring in the understanding that there's got to be another way for humanity. This compilation starts, and then we'll move on, but this compilation starts with this from Bob Avakian, where he says, "We, the people of the world, can no longer afford to allow these imperialists to continue to dominate the world and determine the destiny of humanity. They need to be overthrown as quickly as possible. And it's a scientific fact that we do not have to live this way."
So before we move on, we want to show a video from some comrades in Texas. But before we move on, once again, exciting news announced.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yes, thank you.
I don't know if you can give us specific numbers.
We're now at $4,357.
That does not mean that you're through or that we're through. Okay, we still got a long way to go today, and we still got funds to raise, and every cent counts. And we do have other other announcements that we want to make about people who have written in to make donations and to challenge you to be part of raising the funds for this revolution. But before we go further, we want to play this video from some folks, and I don't know if you want to say a word about it. But
you'll see what they're doing on the ground and where your funds are going.
Hi, I'm Coco.
I'm Vic.
We are leaders of the RevCom for Texas, and we want to tell you a little bit about what we've been doing this year.
This past year has been really critical. We've been working tirelessly to put revolution on the map here in the fascist stronghold of Texas. The Republic fascists here are spearheading the nationwide march toward a terrible future. Women are being enslaved by near total abortion bans. Immigrants are being trapped in the barbed wire at the border and drowning in the Rio Grande. Diversity initiatives and groups like Students for Justice in Palestine are being banned from campuses across the state. Texas has one of the highest incarceration rates in the world, and LGBTQ people have been losing the rights that they barely had before. And our fascist governor has pledged complete and total support to Israel while issuing an executive order to establish, quote, appropriate punishments for anti-Semitic rhetoric on college and university campuses.
And look, in the face of all that, the newly formed RevCom for Texas has taken the revolution right to the U.S.-Mexico border, where we shredded the U.S. flag in front of a mob of Trump's MAGA fascists. We've challenged reformist delusions at an International Women's Day celebration in San Antonio. We hosted a speech on woke lunacy versus real revolution at the University of Houston. We dropped a banner and issued a statement against a law that would enable every cop in the state to arrest anyone they suspect of being in this country illegally. We did this right in the rotunda at the state capitol. We've met with professors and students at the University of Texas, Austin, and we've put revolution on walls all over the place. We have canvassed laundromats, taquerias, skate parks, and a farmer's market in Eagle Pass, right at the border with our literature. And we intend to intensify and expand these efforts as the fascists are building a military base near Eagle Pass. And they are moving to implement SB4 one way or the other.
Texas is a really big state, and all of this work that we've been doing requires a lot of fuel, cost of housing and materials, lots of it. So imagine the difference that it will make to expand and consolidate a strong RevCom core for the emancipation of humanity, one that can turn heads all over the country towards the new communist revolution and the leadership of Baba Bakian. So please donate generously to build this material force for an emancipating revolution.
Okay, welcome back. Thank you to the comrades from Texas. It was a very good video. I mean, one thing we do with these live streams, I think, get the benefit of really showing the national character of this movement for revolution. So you're going to see more from Chicago and more from LA later in this live stream. But if people want to give specifically, we're going to make this $15,000 goal here, but in an ongoing way, people should be thinking about what difference it makes to have these forces on the ground in Texas. And as she said, Texas is a big state. So it requires a lot of gas money to drive from Houston to Austin to Eagle Pass. These are not short distances. So that requires gas money. It requires funds for printing materials. And they really have spread this revolution all across that state, as you saw really powerfully. So if you want to give to them, you can also earmark donations to the RevCom Corps in Texas, and let people know that there's forces in Texas fighting to spread this. So we've made that $1,500 match, and hold on. Okay, so now we have another $1,500 match. And this is from, it's a very short statement. They said, we are a group of RevComs supporters on Chicago's North Side. So to those watching the Revolutionary Internationalist May Day 2024 live stream, we challenge you to match the $1,500 that we've raised among us. This match, if successful, will contribute to 1/5 of the goal of $15,000. So for the emancipation of humanity, join us. So we're now putting up our second $1,500 match of today's live stream, and so contribute. It'll be doubled.
That's right. Everything you give now is counted twice towards this $1,500 matching goal. Our number right now is at 4,377, and we have an exciting contribution that was made to contribute to raising the funds for this live stream that we also want to share with you all. And get your friend list, pull it up on your phone and figure out who you want to also tell about this, because we have some pictures that should be coming up on the screen in a moment from artists who donated a painting that they're challenging people to donate $500 or more in order to receive.
So it's up. It's up. Oh, and I'm going to read it. Okay, so what you're looking at is a picture of a painting of Joe Strummer. People don't know Joe Strummer was a central figure in the Clash, the incredible band. Look them up on YouTube. So Strummer, and this is from the artist. Strummer was an internationalist and revolutionary minded. In the upper right corner, a Palestinian youth flees down a road away from an Israeli soldier with a rifle. The words at the bottom are from the song Washington Bullets, which was about the U.S. funding as well as supplying weapons to the reactionary Contras in Nicaragua. Over 50,000 people were killed as a result of direct and indirect U.S. involvement. And this is not so different from the U.S. support and funding of the Israeli government and military, which is carrying out a genocide before the eyes of the world. So this artist has donated this painting, and if you give $500 or more and request this, it can be sent to you. So you can work that out with the number on your screen, and give us a call if you have donated $500. It's first come, first served. So hop on the phone lines, and we want to thank the artist for giving this, and thank ahead of time the donor who steps forward to contribute, and we'll have this great painting on their wall.
This is an example of what you and people you know can be part of doing to raise funds for the revolution. There's people who do bake sales or who take jars to raise funds in small ways, and then there's people who can make contributions in kind, like this artist did, and in other ways, donating meals, which we're gonna I think get to a little bit more, but I don't. Is there any updates? There is an update. I see a big update.
$4,977. So we'll do the math in just a minute. Keep going.
Okay. Well, that's almost $600 though.
Yeah.
That's a.
We just got a $600 donation. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm not with it. We just got a $600 donation with this message. I love what you guys are doing. It's very inspiring. I agree. Bob Avakian is the most important revolutionary and thinker in the world today. So that's a very generous donation. Thank you. And we agree with you.
That's right, and that brings us $900 shy of this next $1,500 matching donation. So there's still time to double your contribution, and let people who are also looking at this, watching this, that there are people who are beginning to put things on the line in many different ways, including in what they support and finance in terms of the fundamental change that humanity really needs. And now is your chance. Now is the chance of the people to do something that matters. So as we move along, we opened up at the top of the live stream, as they call it, wanting to get into some things with you. And this is happening just days before May 1st and the weekend of May 4th, 5th, in which the RevCom Corps for the Emancipation of Humanity has been building towards and announcing and declaring that we're going to be rallying, marching, and celebrating Internationalist May Day, which is a holiday celebrated around the world in struggles against oppression and injustice, but even more than that, struggles that are fighting for a world free of all this. And it's been taken up as a holiday, a revolutionary holiday, where people express their connection with people all over the world and their determination to fight for a whole different world. And so we are raising the demands this year. We need and we demand revolution for a whole new way to live, a fundamentally different system. And stop the U.S.-Israeli genocide of Palestinians now. Stop capitalism, imperialism from stealing our future. There's going to be demonstrations and activities on May 1st that we're going to be either participating in or calling ourselves. But then also a centerpiece this year is at the RevCom Core in LA, for example, on the weekend on May 5th is going to be marching through a neighborhood in which we've been focusing a lot of effort to bring people into this revolution, where we've been spreading and going through with people the different dispatches, especially that are now in this great pamphlet from BA, the dispatches 1 through 11 on the Bob Avakian official social media, which get into, as it says, real revolution in this time, what the powers that be don't want you to know, and grounds people in a very scientific understanding of why a revolution is what's really needed right now, and why it's possible more so than any time before, and how we can go about making that revolution in this time. And on May 5th, when we march through the neighborhood, when we rally, when we gather together and break bread together, we're really forging those beginning numbers of people who, as we say in this call, are, quoting from Bob Avakian, that are going to be part of the growing numbers of organized forces, which Bob Avakian points to the future of this as it develops, where he says, with thousands organized into the ranks of the revolution, millions can be won to revolution. And with millions won to revolution, there could be a real possibility for this revolution to win. And to walk some of this through a little bit, we wanted to share with you a video from the interviews with Bob Avakian that were done on the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show, which again you can find on this channel by going to the playlists section and scrolling down to the BA interviews. And so we have that loaded up. Yes. Let's play that for people.
But while you're watching, think about again what difference it makes to be building up this force for revolution in the way he talks about, and give to make that happen.
Lenin made the point, leader of the Russian Revolution and important communist theoretician, made the point that in these kind of circumstances which we're living in now, and it's important to understand, decades of ordinary times get concentrated in not only in years, but in months and weeks. And that's what you saw in 2020 on a certain level, not yet to revolution, but that's what you saw. And that's what's going to be increasingly happening. The question is, are the revolutionaries, small as they are right now? Yes, we're going to be honest about this. We're not going to try to fool people. That's not scientific. That's not principled. But small as they are, can they go out and drive home to people this lesson and show it in a scientifically grounded, understandable way, not talking like, well, you must understand it's the imperialist system that causes all these horrors in the world, and the first thing we need is a proletarian revolution, which first occurred in 1917 after the failure of the Paris Commune in 1871. And was taken to its highest level by the Chinese Cultural Revolution. That's not what I'm talking about, okay? But to go out and in a living way present to people the actual reality of what this is all rooted in, why things are accelerating the way they are, how the ruling class is increasingly in an antagonistic, unresolvable conflict within itself, and how this provides opening for us to actually get rid of all this oppression by scientifically understanding that it's rooted in the very workings of this system, the very dynamics and the very relations of this system, and that we can mobilize and win over the forces, most of all people who are catching the worst hell under this system, which are millions and tens of millions, but also people from other parts of society who hate injustice and who want a better future for humanity and don't want to have nuclear weapons raining down on humanity, don't want the environment to be destroyed. We can win increasing numbers of them over, and it's going to all be very accelerated one way or the other. So we've got to go out with that understanding and give that understanding to the masses of people, like I said, in very basic terms and in everyday language, not in a stilted language that I was just, mocking, to be blunt. But, this is where building up the forces for revolution in a growing way. Today there are small numbers. Tomorrow there are, hundreds verging on thousands. Then there are thousands. And when there are thousands, those thousands make millions sit up and take notice. You see thousands of people all together, firmly convinced of the need for revolution, not in some sort of religious sense, but with a scientific foundation in basic terms. You see them on the political stage, influencing the political terrain, how things are shaping up. Millions of people start taking notice. And millions of people who are telling us today, oh, that'll never happen, start thinking a little differently, or at least questioning, well, maybe it could happen. And then, the question is, do you have a leading force, a core leading this, that has the scientific method approach and has an actual strategy and plan for how to build up the forces for revolution, how to work to create the conditions for revolution, carry out what we call the three prepares. Prepare the ground, the political situation, prepare the masses of people, and prepare the vanguard leadership so that you can go all the way with revolution. And people are going to start sitting up and taking notice. Wow, there are people out here and they're very serious about this, and they have a scientific approach which they can explain to me in terms that I can actually understand, and they've got a strategy and a program for how to go about this and how to win when the time comes. Not that they've given us a guarantee, but they have a strategy for how to go about winning, and they've got a whole vision and concrete blueprint for what to do when we do win, namely the Constitution for the new socialist republic in North America.
So I really want you to think about what you just heard as we go into this week, May Day 2024. You just heard some things and saw some things about what it looks like when things are becoming accelerated, like he talks about, or where thousands and millions are having to be or forced to confront how they've thought about things and the way the world is and change very rapidly. And in the midst of more accelerated times to come, whether or not there is that force that is with the leadership you just heard and is powerfully out there fighting for it, that'll determine whether or not people even have a chance to change in the way that they need to be able to carry out the revolution that needs to be carried out, and to replace this system once and for all with something that would be truly emancipating way to live. And this is the Constitution that he mentioned, the Constitution for the new socialist republic in North America. So everyone who can be part of raising that demand for a whole different way to live and a fundamentally different system, you need to be there on May Day, May 1st or May 4th, 5th, wherever it is in your area. Here in Los Angeles, May 5th, we're going to be mainly down in the Crenshaw area. So find out more about that at revcom.us. And watch the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show for more on how this, what we're doing and how this has been going, and we're going to get into that. But I really want to just, off of hearing that, also say everyone who can raise that demand should be there, but also don't stop there if that's all you can, if you're already there. We also say that on May Day 2024, we're going to declare that we will dare to fight and win a future worthy of our children and of all of humanity. This is what's demanded of us. This is what we are declaring on that day. This is what we are bringing people into to learn more about as they're part of working towards it. This is the most meaningful thing that you can do with your life, and is the reason to learn to work with other people who are just like you and nothing like you, as we say in the RevCom Corps. This is the reason for people to work to have the effect that they can't have by themselves. in acting as a force of thousands who can lead those millions to make revolution. So before we move on, we have...
Hold on, yeah, I'll update. This is very important and very powerful, and people should take this to heart, and I'll say one more thing about it in a second, but just in terms of the financial update of where we're at, we've raised $5,642. So we just need $215 more to make our second $1,500 match. And look, people who are giving today, whether you're giving $5, whether you gave $500, whether you're part of pooling to make these $1,500 donations, you're part of a national community for revolution that's really about everything you just said and about getting beyond the nasty, narrow, do-for-self culture and way of going through the world of this system. And you're part of a community of people fighting to raise that demand that we refuse to live this way. We need and we demand revolution for a whole different way to live. So thank you for giving, and call your friends and invite them to be part of something that, again, is the most meaningful thing you can be part of. I just wanted to say, and then I'll let you intro our next video, but just responding to what you're talking about, I've been following what the students in the middle of these encampments are saying very closely, and I've said it's very inspiring, but it is also very heavy that as deep as people's morality is, as deep as their desire to put themselves on the line to fight for the Palestinian people, is also how low people's sights are. Even still, with all the heroism we're seeing, is people really do not think beyond reconfiguring what is a different form of what is under this system. They think about how to carve out a better space and have mutual aid and different relations among people in their small sectors, but people are not thinking about the actual need to abolish this system, to abolish the U.S. Constitution, the system that enforces it, to replace it with a radically different constitution. And I just, this is like, look, we have all these materials on this table here. And Nosha, you brought out the Constitution for the New Socialist Republic in North America. I wanted to raise this distillation of this, which is the we need and we demand a whole new way to live in a fundamentally different system. And you go through this, and I've taken this out into the encampments, and it's controversial because you're talking about a whole different thing, but we're talking about a whole different thing because we need a whole different thing. And this lays out like, okay, look, what kind of society, what's possible after you make a revolution? People need this. People need to debate this, but for people to get this, it requires a national movement that's fighting for it, and that requires funds. So I'm responding to what you're saying and appreciating it, and it's part of why people should give. So keep giving. We're close to that second $1,500 match.
Right on. I mean, no, it is. We are celebrating because, as you mentioned earlier, and which we've come back to, and is a theme, when BA says we can no longer afford to allow these imperialists to continue to run the world and determine the destinies of humanity, and we follow that up by saying, and it's a scientific fact that we do not have to live this way. Okay, not because we're just better people. Work has been done to see how actually we could organize society in a different way, so that we can lift our sights and have that daring to fight and win based on something very deep, real, and not easy, but something that is real, that can actually do something about the horrors that people are constantly subjected to, and which we have a chance in this time to really put an end to. So, again, we've been out in the neighborhoods, working towards this, building towards this. We're doing this fundraising live stream right now in the midst of all this because we need you to be part of strengthening these efforts, and at this crucial time, to make this, a turning point where people are beginning to know about and join the RevCom Corps for the emancipation of humanity that's fighting for this revolution. So we wanted to share with you a video of Michelle Chai. Oh.
Well, we just made our match by a very generous donor who sent so we're now at $5,642, which is more than a third toward our $15,000 goal. They sent a beautiful statement. I think we should watch this video from Michelle, and then I'll read this statement from the donor who just gave. So thank you for giving, and let's watch Michelle.
Right, just on that.
Okay, Okay, so I'm Michelle Chai. I'm here in South Central LA at Jim Gilliam Park, where we are 1 week out from Revolutionary Internationalist May Day, where here in this park, we're gonna have a rally, a celebration, and we're gonna march with the slogans of we demand a revolution for a whole new way to live, a fundamentally different system, stop the U.S.-Israeli genocide against Palestinians now, stop capitalism, imperialism from stealing our future. So we wanted to give a little update. In the past week, we've raised about $125 from 30 people in this neighborhood. And one is we want to put a challenge, to people watching the live stream today, to match this what we've raised in this neighborhood, right? And some of the work that we've done in this neighborhood is we've been going to people with what our call for May 1st says, right? There's a whole system of capitalism, imperialism here that is waging a war, that is waging a genocide, right? The U.S. is fully backing, and they're not even trying to hide it at this point. How blatant and how like an open, horrific genocide against the people in Palestine, right? Some people don't know about it. Other people, are just learning about it, and other people are really deeply agonizing about what's happening with this genocide, right? And we've been, at the same time as there's been this really important and very inspiring, protest from these students about a mile away from here at USC, where almost 100 students were arrested protesting, to stop this genocide, right? Where people in this neighborhood are seeing this, where they're inspired by seeing these students, standing up around this. And we've made this great banner, right, that says, from South Central LA to Palestine, we need real revolution. Hands off the brave students, hands off Gaza. And we've taken it, to the high school in this area. We've taken it, to the neighborhood, and we've called on people to come sign this banner, right, to write their message of support, that right now is not a time to stand to the side while this is going down in our name, and while students not that far from here are putting something on the line. Right now is not a time to be silent and to be off to the side. Today we had some people pulling over their cars and jumping out of their cars and coming over and signing their message of support, right, for these students and for the people in Palestine, saying free Gaza, really asking why is this happening, right? And being really curious about, what we're talking about when we say a real revolution is possible in this time. People that are getting a sense that both the people that are signing this banner and also people that are one of these 30 people, that have given to what we've raised funds in this neighborhood, have said that they're getting a sense that this is about something much bigger, right? That this is about actual humanity, about emancipating humanity, that this is about the bigger questions, right? However, they're beginning to understand it, but they're seeing that this is about something much larger, right? And so, so we wanted to share this with people because, this is some of the work that we've been doing in this neighborhood, and we also want to project this, right? The potential that's actually out there, and what we've just begun to, to really tap into, right, when we're out in neighborhoods like this. And on May 1st, when we're on May Day, where we're really fighting to bring these things together, right? People from the campuses that are coming to this neighborhood, that are marching in the streets with other people who right now are feeling very inspired by those students and what they're doing, and the campuses, and that are challenging other people that right now are sitting off to the side, that are challenging them on a revolutionary basis, that there is a way out of this madness, and that they need to actually know about this, find out about this, contribute to it, and be part of actually having an impact with this revolution. So give funds, spread this video, let people know then this is just a beginning experience that we're having, as things are developing in society right now. So we wanted to say that, and we wanted to really call on people across the country, go to, that are doing work amongst neighborhoods like these, to go out in this kind of way with a bucket and shake the bucket and get people to actually contribute to this, to be part of putting real revolution on the map, with banners, with messages like this, where you can get people together. This is what we wanted to share. Give funds and spread this live stream.
Okay, so welcome back. That was a very, I thought, really lively and exciting video from Michelle with very excited kids in the background. But so she talked about this, and in the last week in this neighborhood, they raised $142 from people that from people who work in gas stations to people who are unemployed and live on the desperate edge of this system, and people pooled their money together. The younger people and high school students, the older folks, retired people, and they raised $142. So as she said, this should be matched, and we'll put this video up on our social media, and people should take this out and go to people for whom $142 is a night out at the theater or a fancy dinner, and ask them to match what a bunch of people in a neighborhood of oppressed people raised. And that's also how we build a movement of people from different strata that are working together, that are meeting each other, that are not letting each other be isolated. And in that, you also see the potential strategically for people to come together to actually make this revolution. So $142 was raised, and then also here, very exciting, we have raised $9,297 total. So we are almost 2/3 to our national goal of $15,000 by May 5th. But, we've got another half hour to be with you all together, and it would be pretty good if we came very close or actually met that $15,000 goal. So keep donating. Thank you to the generous people who are giving. What next?
That's right. And you should give and also let people see these videos, right? Yeah. See Michelle talking about what we're doing out there, and we're not hyping anything up. It's been she talks about, it's been a struggle. People are caught up, and anybody you talk to raise funds is going to tell you people are really messed up out there, and there's people doing a lot of inspiring things in universities right now, but also a lot of people are heads up their own asses, or going along with a lot of what Bob Avakian calls the money, misogyny, and patriarchy that a lot of the people on the bottom of society who need this revolution the most are really caught up in chasing. And we've had to really go up against that. But you see in what Michelle is breaking down, there's a potential there for people to think, people who right now are thinking very heads down, having to either worry about themselves trying to survive, or who are really, caught up in worse thinking, have the potential to be thinking about the whole world and become emancipators of humanity. And you see that, we were joking here about the beauty of the children making noise in the background, and it makes you think about the headaches that are also part of the beauty and the joy, of fighting for a world that's worth it for them. Yeah. So, again, show people this live stream and what goes up on revcom.us. And, I wanted to set up as we read this next letter that comes from someone who's been, we recently met and has been working with the RevCom Corps here in Los Angeles, and who went out to raise funds from people who he was living with in a group home or halfway house. And they raised $130 from people that they lived with. And we did an interview with them, which we're not going to be able to share the entirety of, but we wanted to share some of the excerpts. So I'm going to go ahead and read from this interview. Mm-hmm. We asked them first about... we just asked them to share what the experience was. So he said that the $130 for the RevCom Corps came from a group home. Many of the guys there have their own life experiences, but a person asked me about what I was doing that day, and I told them that I was handing out flyers, and they said, yeah, if I have time, I will read it. So I put it on the community table. And then the person read it. And he asked, what is the message in brief? And I said, it's a social media where Bob Avakian speaks about a central topic, the emancipation of humanity, individually and collectively. So they asked how they could participate without actually being present at a certain place or time. And I told them, well, photocopies are needed. There are some books. I received 2. And together, they, using a rough math formula, made out a small donation, which they asked me to provide to the RevComs. And that's how it happened. Also, I put a flyer in the front house, and the topic that started the discussion was the ability to see social injustice for what it is, the larger scheme of things, and not always making it personal. Sometimes people suffer personal injustice, but like the genocide in Gaza is so wrong that nobody has any words left to describe it. And so it was in that theme. So it was in that theme is where they gave some money. They believe in the cause, the general theme of the cause for the emancipation of humanity, not for their personal self-interests, but for the larger thing, the genocide in Gaza, the suppression of free speech. That was on the flyer. So we followed up and asked, what would his message be to you, to the people tuning into this live stream today, about why they should donate to the RevComs and to Revolutionary Internationalist Mayday. And they said, by donating to a cause, you can support a cause and express your voice for the cause. And you don't need to be in front now, so to speak. People can donate for a cause such as the RevComs have and support the cause. Because from my experience, the photocopies are simply not free. The posters are not free. It's just part of how things are. So supporting a cause that one begins to believe in is important. Important individually within the larger picture of everybody. Like all those people in the future who will be emancipated. It will be effective. Donate for the cause today, for the greater picture tomorrow.
So thank you to the person who did that interview and who raised those funds. And, if it's not clear, this is somebody in somewhat dire conditions and raised funds from other people in somewhat dire conditions. But I think that point about giving
dire conditions, but not dire of heart and
yes,
aspiration.
Exactly. And people about being and giving and having a chance to give to something bigger than themselves also really matters. So when you're asking people to donate, you're giving them an opportunity to do something that really is meaningful, whether they can physically be out on the front lines or not. So thank you for the person who raised those funds, the people who gave those funds, and for your interview, so we could share this with everybody across the country here today. Okay, so the person earlier who gave generously, who gave that $1,500 donation, I wanted to read their statement. They gave a $500 donation. I'm misremembering, and things happened all at once. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they gave a $500 donation.
Keep them waiting.
And yes, keep them waiting. Sorry, he's teasing me. Okay, so they said, what would you give? What would you give to never have to check the news and see yet another Black or Latino person shot 5, 10, 41, or 96 times by a pig who didn't see them as a human being? What would you give to never have to see the bodies of children face down in the Rio Grande or washing up along with seaweed in the Mediterranean or on the shores of European countries? What would you give to see women have the right to control their own bodies, for LGBT people and women to be able to walk with their heads held high, free from the fear of rape and assault as equals and respected members of society? What would you give to end the threat of nuclear war, to see nuclear weapons destroyed altogether, to end brutal genocides like the U.S.-funded war on the Palestinian people in Gaza and the West Bank and all the imperialist wars of domination and plunder? What would you give to be able to listen and learn from the experience of scientists and work with them to actually tackle the climate emergency for real? This is not impossible. If millions of people rise in real revolution to sweep this system of capitalism and imperialism aside, Bob Avakian has analyzed that this is a time when there's a real chance for revolution if we bring into being a revolutionary people quickly. What wouldn't you give?
What's more?
I know,
what
right?
else do you say to that?
Well,
Except, like.
yeah.
No, go ahead.
Well, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you for your words. Thank you for your heart. Thank you for your generosity. And it's doing this kind of thing together where you really feel like, look, we're in this for something that really matters. And, it's not, I'll just say, revolution is not the most likely outcome to the situation we're confronting here. But it's really possible, and things are coming to a head, and the whole society could come up for grabs. And will there be a force? The answer to that has to be yes, and it has to be brought into being by what we do here, by what we do all across the country with our determination, with our scientific understanding, with our energy, courage, tenacity, ferocity, and determination not to back down in a moment where so much potential rides and so much horrors go on unless and until we make this revolution.
That's right. And, Bob Avakian has been fighting for people to see the potential in this situation. We're going to be fighting with people to see the potential they have to be part of that and be part of fighting to make this revolution. And you need to be part of that as you're all learning more and supporting those who are also on the front lines and who are, doing this kind of work. And the ability for us to do this in a societal, nationwide way, and not just, like you listen to the letter from the prisoner, or, you think about, the impact that we can have if we're just trying to do it all ourselves, or just trying to print off, whatever flyers we can make within our own means. And then you can't even have the impact on society while it is being, torn apart and roiling, and be able to get to the point where we can lead millions. But this is what we're doing together on this live stream.
Yeah.
And this is what you see sort of, I'm sorry, is there another update?
There's another update.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're at $9,712, and we just got, two updates. $500 in total donations came from a watch party at Revolution Books in New York.
Wow.
So what's up, y'all, in New York? And thank you for coming all together and pooling those funds. And then $170 came from a watch party in Cleveland toward urgently needed real revolution, nothing less.
Speaking of national.
Okay, so I think we should go into playing this short video from the couple folks from the RevCom Corps in Chicago. They introduced themselves. They did it as a promo video for this live stream, but we wanted to play it because you get a feel for what they're doing on the ground there. So let's play that.
Tune into the Revolutionary Internationalist May Day fundraising live stream hosted by the RevComs, Revolutionary Communists, who have been out amongst the student protesters demanding an end to the U.S.-Israeli genocide of Palestinians, and heroically standing up in the face of brutal repression from the state. The RevComs have been bringing out the fact that there aren't just two choices between Genocide Joe on one hand or Fascist Trump on the other. There is a whole other way we could be living. And May 1st through the 5th, join us in raising the demands we need and we demand revolution for a whole new way to live, a fundamentally different system. Stop the U.S.-Israeli genocide of Palestinians now, and stop capitalism imperialism from stealing our future.
Look, y'all, let's cut to the chase. We need a revolution, nothing less. Everywhere you look, left, right, up, down, the world's a mess. From the big-time capitalists at the top, ever more ruthlessly destroying our environment, to our government committing a whole genocide in the Middle East. Right down to, in this country, the belly of the beast, where police brutality and murder of black and brown people is part of the way society functions. And with the brutal repression coming down against these heroic student uprisings, now is the time for us to come through from below and make an emancipating revolution. The powers that be have a real sense that if masses of people lose their allegiance to this system, that could be a big contributor to their system being in a much deeper crisis. Look, with everywhere you go, people talking about civil war, with these powers divided in a way we haven't seen in our lifetimes, at each other's throats. Trump and his MAGA fascists organizing and prepared to take the election no matter the results. And the Democrats trying to hold on to the norms of this hellhole society, trying to put Trump in jail. This is our chance for real emancipation. The revolutionary leader, Bob Avakian, has said, this is where you come in. Because everything depends on bringing forward a revolutionary people from all across society. And with thousands organized into the revolution, millions can be won to revolution. And we can have a real chance to go for the whole thing and win. A real chance to defeat, abolish, dismantle, and replace this system of capitalism, imperialism, and its state apparatus.
Make sure to get with the RevComs May 1st through 5th and get organized into this revolution and be one of the thousands needed now.
This is Lapis, Leo, that's all from us.
Okay, thank you, Lapis and Leo from the RevCom Corps for the Emancipation of Humanity in Chicago. They've been in the streets and then bringing a really powerful and very clear message about what time it is and what you need to be doing. So we are not that far from ending our live stream here today. So if you are sitting there thinking about whether you're going to give, thinking about your cousin who once said they wanted a better world, maybe, but you haven't reached out to them, reach out to them now. Give now. We are almost 2/3 toward our $15,000 goal. We've raised $9,712. We did that all together here today. That really matters. And now let's keep going and let's bring it home in terms of this $15,000 goal between now and May 5th. But sooner better. I want to say, just kind of off of what Lapis and Leo were just talking about. Look, we have an incredible gift that's been given to the world in the last few months, that Bob Avakian, this revolutionary leader who you've seen here today in these videos that we've been talking about, that we've been fighting for out in the world in terms of what his work is and his leadership, he's on social media, direct to the masses of people with audio dispatches a couple times a week that cut to the core about what's happening, why we need a revolution. And he says it straight up. If you don't know why we need a revolution and how that revolution is possible, you don't know what you need to know. But he's bringing that understanding. He's bringing the truth that the powers that be do not want you to know about this revolution, about the nature of this system, and walks through very seriously and with tremendous clarity in these social media messages, every few days about the actual plan to make this revolution, and then going up against all the other bullshit ways of thinking and acting that people are caught up in. So this is it's something people need to know.
And as big things continue to shape everything that's going forward, he's continuing to make important analysis and provide key leadership at every what we played earlier at this live stream about this campus upsurge and putting it in the context it needs to be put in, and helping us understand what's going on here and what does this mean for the fight for emancipation. This is ongoing leadership. It's very people need to appreciate how precious it is that we're getting these things and the role it can play in spreading them, so that many more people can hear from these big answers to fundamental questions and ongoing leadership to the big key fault line questions of the day, and guidance for the revolutionary forces and movements.
Yeah, and you get to meet the leadership you have. Look, for all the snark and all the bullshit about I don't want to follow this, blah, blah, blah. You want to change the world? You want to be serious about changing the world? You need leadership. And the fact that we have the leadership we have in Bob Avakian, and you can hear from him directly talking about all of what you're saying, talking about his experience in the free speech movement, what this generation can learn from that, this is something that people need to get into and fight for. And okay, we've raised $1,167.
Whoa.
And so we're
right on.
Sorry. What did I say?
I don't know what you said.
Sorry, I wasn't wearing my glasses. We raised $11,867.
There's a crack in the screen too.
Yeah, sorry. There's also a crack in the screen. We're looking at the amount.
1,467.
Oh, we raised.
It just went up.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you
So-
for the voice behind the mic, behind the camera, giving us the update.
You guys are seeing it before we do, just so you know.
We raised $12,487. This really matters. So thank you to people who are contributing here as we get ready to close out. Not yet. A little more
Just real
to do.
quick. At Bobavakian Official is where you can get those those social media dispatches
On all social media
on
platforms.
all social media platforms, and you can sign up for notifications on Substack.
Yeah, and you can
so
get
that you're notified every time they come out on all their platforms.
Right, and you get the text
share
on
them.
Substack.
There you go.
Okay, but I also want to say, so
Oh.
you're talking about spreading the word about this and fighting for it. Well, how do people do that? Well, there's these fantastic posters and provocations that you can get on revcom.us. But printing these, getting these up on walls requires funds. Getting these in people's faces. Don't think revolution could really happen here. You're wrong. And then a code to scan and to get into it directly. Truth that the powers that be don't want you to know. And then this one, which I referenced earlier, if you don't understand why we need a revolution and how that revolution is possible, then you don't know what you need to know. These need to get up and out. We need a lot. There are more provocations on revcom.us. You can print them yourself, get them out and spread it. And I want to say this QR code, we've been talking about Bobavakian social media overall. I want to particularly highlight, and Noja, you referenced this earlier, if you go to the social media, if you go to YouTube, at Bobavakian Official, there's a playlist of 1 through 11, which is the first 11 of these audio dispatches. It's a little over an hour of audio. This is the core. This is the core message people need to get into and need to understand why we need a revolution and really how that revolution is possible and what's the plan for that. I listened to these again this morning and thinking about this live stream and how to bring this alive here. This is like, you know, if you think about the central thing, if you're going to build up a force for revolution in the rare time where revolution is possible, what do they have to understand? Exactly what's in those first 11 messages.
Exactly.
So it's something that if you're watching this and you've not gotten into them, go immediately, get deeply into them. You're meeting people to talk with them about this revolution. It's the first thing they got to get into. Immediate, deep engagement with these first 11 messages in that playlist and that we have this handy pamphlet of, and the word needs to be spread about them.
Yeah, just an easy way to find the playlist on YouTube is go to Bobavakian Official, the channel, and then move over to the playlists tab, and the playlist is called Real Revolution in This Time, and you can see 1 through 11, and it'll play through.
Okay, so we just got $155 from a watch party at the RevCom Core Organizing Center in the South Side of Chicago.
Right on.
So thank you to the people tuning in who are gathering there together. We do sit here in this national movement, gathered together in New York, here in Los Angeles, from Chicago. So this matters. It needs to spread and needs to be built up as a national force for revolution. And we just got a very generous $2,000 donation. That's what we're seeing. That's what that went into that $12,000.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's what went into that $12,487. Okay, so I want to read a statement we got from someone earlier who donated $100. And they said, I'm making this donation because I think revolution is way overdue and desperately needed. Not just here in the USA, but also in Palestine, Iraq, Iran, China, Latin America, the Congo, and so many other places on this planet. With the ongoing genocide in Gaza and the ratcheting up of howling settler lynch mobs in the occupied territories, which is likely going to escalate into an all-out genocide, we're looking at a world where might makes right. It's basically the order of the day. So props to all the rebel youth of the current generation and other people who stand with them for challenging this horrendous system and shaking up the air. There is so much potential in these rebellions for the situation to be changed, from a horribly unfavorable polarization to a polarization in which the possibility of a real revolution on the basis of the new communism as put forward by Bobavakian can be realized. So thank you for that statement and for your generous donation.
There's a couple videos that we're going to want to turn to in a second, but to close us off. But before we do, I do just want to say once again, this has been a very important, live stream. We've gotten very close to the 1,500.
15,000.
Excuse me, 15,000. What'd I say? Anyway, don't think small, think big. But we want to hit that goal before May 5th. Donate everything you can now, but also make plans now to raise funds all the way every day between now and the 5th to make sure we reach that goal and surpass it and actually accomplish what we need to do. On the day itself of the May 1st, May 4th, 5th weekend, wherever days people are gathering, find ways to get donations and put people on a mission to raise funds so that can really be a springboard to make further advances. And, as we're doing all of this, tune into RevCom.us and the Revolution Nothing Less show every week, because we're, the situation in society is rapidly developing. Exactly. And key guidance is coming. Yeah. And, will be given from there in terms of like how people need to be moving together and acting together to really influence where these things go. Get the social media, especially 27, out to any students or campus people that in the midst of all of this. And,
I'm signaling you because we just finish your point. Get 27. Okay, get the social media message about this situation out very widely. That's really important. That's the key thing people need to understand.
And on Revolutionary May Day, be there and step out and represent for the emancipation of humanity. Yes.
Okay, so we just got another $1,358 donation.
All right.
Oh, is that what that's saying? That's what that's saying, right? Sorry, y'all. This is live stream. Okay, I'm going to ask them to clarify what they mean. And then I got a text message that said, sounds good about the social media, but why don't you tell people and give them a sense of what's in the social media? So there's a number of, there's just over 28 posts now from, more than that, from Bob Avakian. There's no such thing as human nature. The communist revolution and the radical change in supposedly unchanging human nature. With, if you want to talk about changing the lowered sights of this, generation and people all throughout society, have them listen to that and tell me that and have them actually get into it themselves and argue, how is that not more desirable than the shithole that this system has us living through? There's a post on Haiti, horrific suffering, more horrific crimes by U.S. imperialism. American exceptionalism, further exposing the reality behind the myth. The U.S. moving toward a more perfect union? No. And then a number of them on what's happening with the genocide of the Palestinian people in Israel, why this is happening, the role of U.S. imperialism in all this. This really is understanding people need to have now, and it needs to be way spread with a much bigger audience. But that's not going to happen because the algorithm all of a sudden works in our favor. The algorithm reinforces the modes of thinking and acting in the terms of this system. It means this social media is going to impact because we fight for it. People who are moved by it go out and fight for it, and that means you watching, that means the people you go out and reach.
Just because we're almost at the 15,000 mark doesn't mean you're off the hook.
But we are almost at the 15,000 mark.
But we are there, and it's very, it's very exciting and very, encouraging and important that we've almost arrived at that milestone today. But it's all, hard fought, and will be, a great, springboard towards making further advances and raising funds and having the impact and organizing the forces. And before we're going to play those videos, then we're going to close out very soon. Somebody just texted. Just gave in a $500 donation and said, getting Rafael Cadares to a storm center is worth every penny and more. And we agree, and thank you for that. Speaking of the storm in Columbia University.
Exactly. Yes, the epicenter of the storm at Columbia University. And it is worth every penny and more, but it does take every penny and more. So why don't we go to those two very short videos we got from people who are donors from New York City. You'll meet them. These are short videos, and we'll come back and say goodbye.
I'm a U.S. veteran, currently working with the RevCom Corps for the Emancipation of Humanity. And I would ask that all people donate as much as they can to support this organization. The only organization that's working to bring about emancipation for all people around the world.
Hi, my name is Lavette. I am one of the volunteers fundraisers for Revolution Books in Harlem. I urge everyone who hates the way so many people are treated as less than human to donate to the RevComs. We need a real revolution and a whole different way for people to live. Join us on May 1st for International May Day. Join the RevComs who are working tirelessly every day for a real revolution. Following the leadership of Barbara Vicken for a real revolution that is both needed and possible. So please donate generously to the fundraising live stream.
I'm a U.S. veteran, currently working with the RevCom Corps.
Okay, so thank you to those two donors who made those videos and sent those statements. It is true. If you're, for all those sick and tired of being treated as less than human, this is what you need to be part of and get into now.
And as Livette said, I want to see you out there on Revolutionary Internationalist May Day to represent this out there into the world, or in every way you can, making that happen and make that as strong and powerful as possible. And want to say I appreciate everyone watching and everyone who's been part of this, and look forward to going even further and meeting this 15,000 and getting even bigger funds to make this year really count for something that it's really great for humanity. And we have the biggest thing going for us that we could have, and we're getting this leadership from BA every time these dispatches come out, which is a very precious thing. And we have a very tumultuous situation in the world that is causing horrific suffering for people, but is also bringing with it those storms of change that could bring about an end to this nightmare once and for all. This is the times that we have been waiting for. This is the time that people dream of. This is our time to not just make advances, but to really break through in building up the forces for revolution and putting this on the map for all of humanity as a beacon for hope for a future worth living in and worth fighting for today.
So we've raised $14,215. Someone did get the Joe Strummer painting, so thank you to that generous donor.
Congratulations!
And we've got a great art piece, and thank you to the artist who
tag at the RevComs when you show it off, or hang it up.
And then we just got a video message from the New York Watch Party. We're gonna post that on our social media. We're not gonna be able to play it for you now.
RevComs.
Yeah, so thank you for sending the video, and thank you for gathering together to watch this. There is a strategy for this revolution. There is a leadership for this revolution. There need to be forces for this revolution on a whole other level. Give to make that possible. Be there, Revolutionary Internationalist May Day. Step into the RevCom Corps for the emancipation of humanity. Thank you to everyone who gave. I'm going to sign us off.
We're signing off.
Okay. Good night, guys. Thank you again. We'll see you soon.